Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the CKC channel. I'm your host, FIDE Master Calvin Klaassen. And welcome to another Reflections episode. This one is going to be super interesting for myself. We've got a special guest. He's an international arbiter, category A since 2005, way back. And in fact, I probably met him way back from where I started playing chess in the Eastern Province. He's probably the one guy that I had to know in every tournament from the get-go, probably around the year 2000 or 2001. And he's been all over as an arbiter. He's the biggest guy. He's the main guy when it comes to South Africa and arbiters, and even internationally. He's done it all basically. So I'll allow Lyndon to introduce him properly. So I'm going to go. Oh yeah, but one thing, guys, if you are new to the show, don't forget to press the follow button to activate the chat box to throw in your questions over there. So I'm going to hand over to Dr. Bouah, and Dr. Bouah, you can do the proper introduction. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Calvin, and good evening, viewers. Yes, as Calvin has indicated, we have a special guest tonight, Mr. Gunther van den Bergh. And Gunther, as he's known to all of us in South Africa, has been South Africa's leading arbiter for the last 20 years. And as Calvin indicated, he's known Gunther since 2000. I've known Gunther even prior to that when we played in Port Elizabeth and elsewhere. And I've even had a run-in, folks, with Gunther, where he gave me a warning after I threw the pieces on the floor in a game. So he's a very strict arbiter, very fair, and people may not know this, but I even have on my record, Gunther, a game we played in the SA Open 2001 against one another. So I've discovered that game, but I won't show the viewers that one tonight. Gunther van den Bergh, welcome to the show tonight. Glad you could join us.
Thank you very much.
Gunther, when did you start to play chess? Because obviously before you were arbiter, you must be able to play a bit of chess. So when did it all start?
I remember I was in primary school. We used to live in Umtunzini. That's in KwaZulu-Natal. And at that time, I had what they call yellow jaundice. I was out of school for about a month or two. And on Saturdays or Sunday evenings, my dad used to play chess with friends. They used to come over to the house and they would just sit friendly, and I would just observe. And ever since that, I just found it very interesting. And then I started studying and see if I can find books, and it just progressed from there. Was never any a good player ever, but I mean, I was just so hooked to the game that it just stuck with me.
And Gunther, I mean,
and then, through primary school and then high school and university and blah blah blah.
But Gunther, I can tell the viewers that, I mean, you play a very decent game, because when we discuss moves at the SA close, you also make some recommendations to me privately about some of the players when you and I are involved in the organizing. So folks out there, Gunther is a very decent player. Gunther, but let's concentrate on the arbiter side of things. How did it all start for you to become an arbiter? How did you get to that?
It actually started, believe it or not, in high school. I was in standard 8, and we had at that time, when you do the pairings, you had those big boards with the cards that you had to manually do.
Yes.
And our teacher used to do the pairings, and I felt at some stage, because I used to get all the not so nice pairings, and I was convinced the teacher was cheating.
Yes.
And then I started studying. There was an old book with the laws of chess. I think it was only like 4 or 5 pages long. It was more pamphlet than a book.
Yeah.
And then I realized, but I was actually correct. And then I got, studied the rules. And I always had this passion that I want to walk around with a gun with me at the tournament and then shoot all the cheaters, because I cannot stand cheating. And that's basically why I got involved with arbitering. It's it's just to ensure that everything is done fairly,
right.
As honestly as possible, sportsmanship all the way through. I don't care who you are, if you lose or whatever. And that is the main thing I actually went on. Why I became an arbiter is, is to stop cheating. I wanted it to be a fair playing field for everybody.
And Gunther,
And I just,
no, the point now that you've made is you want to have a fair system for everybody. And at what age did you then write your first sort of arbiter exam back in the day?
um, in South Africa, there weren't actually any exams. The first real exam, if you want to call it that, was I think in '93. I don't know if you probably still remember Kevin Horn.
Yes,
Used to
yes,
be the big arbiter around, and I wrote an exam with him, and it was just for national purposes. And then I think in 2000 I got involved when we went to Turkey for the first Olympiad. I started getting involved. I met Dirk the Ridder. He was a guy from Belgium, and
yeah.
he introduced me actually to arbiters. And then I met Geert Geysen. He was then the chief arbiter in FIDE. And from there, I started asking. I started writing exams from there. And the system back then was completely different than today. But I wrote my first exam there, and then in uh, uh, where were we in Nigeria? I can't remember the
2003 was Nigeria in Abuja.
Abuja. That's where I wrote my IA exam with Kastu Abundu.
Okay.
And ever since then I got qualified as international arbiter.
So Gunther, you've I can safely say that for the last 20 years, those of us that have been active in South African chess, you've probably been at the most SA Opens and SA Closed top level events and the SA Junior Championships. Would that be a fair comment?
Yes, I've been at the SA Junior Championships, the one in December. I used to be, I think, chief arbiter for 19 years straight. That one I remember. And then I've been to countless SA Closed, SA Opens. I mean, I've got so many memories of those tournaments, especially the SA Opens, and the one wasn't, I think, Wynberg Boys, and the one
2001.
in Bloemfontein. Those my two most memorable SA Opens. And then, there's a lot of SA Closed events as well.
Gunther, are you talking about the 2005 in Bloemfontein and 2009 where Samatawe was played and won the SA Open? Are you talking about that one at Wynberg Boys?
I remember the reason why I remember both of them. I'm going to name the players because there was always an incident at the end. It was Watu Kubese versus Farai Mandiza, and in two consecutive SA Opens at the last round, there was always an issue because these two played each other, and for some reason, I remember those two SA Opens because it was just the rulings I had to make and the interesting things that happened.
No, of course. Now, Gunther, do you have a lot of difficult customers in the chess world? I mean, guys that you've got to, so you don't need to name names, obviously, but I mean, you get to know the players after a while and their mannerisms and these type of things.
Obviously, there are players that at certain tournaments, if I know this player is playing, whether it's nationally or internationally, I will always tell the other arbiters, listen here, keep an eye out for this guy because he's known as a troublemaker, or just be calm with this guy because he might have issues that he can't help, or whatever.
Yes.
But there are players like that, unfortunately.
So good. No, thanks for that. But now I just want to concentrate on your Olympiad experience for a moment. You went to your first Olympiad in 2000 in Turkey. How many Olympiads have you attended subsequent to that?
I've been 2000, and then I skipped the next two, and then since Torino 2006, I've been to everyone.
Fantastic. No, that's a great record on that side, Gunther. And what has been your general impressions? What has been your favorite Olympiad? Because you went 2006 to Turin, you went 08 to Dresden, 2010, you went to Kantiman-Sisk, and then 2012 back to Turkey. And obviously it's Norway, Azerbaijan, Georgia, etc. So which ones have been your favorite?
My favorite Olympiad of all time, and I tell everybody, 2010 Kantiman-Sisk.
Why was
I
that
just
the
found
case?
that one of the best Olympiads ever. I don't know. That is one of the the games that we will discuss. But I think it was just an incredible, well-organized Olympiad.
Yeah.
I just found the people there extremely friendly. The organization was excellent. Everything about that Olympiad was just wonderful, and that's where I first met the Chinese team. And I actually made good friends with them, and we email each other like once every week or once every 2 weeks or something. At least we've got contact each month. So, but that's where I made my some of my best friends, and a lot of the arbiters that I still know today. I've met at that time, at
And
that Olympiad.
now, Gunther, with you being an arbiter and you getting to I'm assuming being posted on different boards in different sections. Who are some of the top players that you have met at these Olympiads? Besides the Chinese that you've mentioned, who are other players that you've become friendly with?
I've basically met all the players, the top players in the world so far. Um, at various tournaments, at the Olympiads, all over the place. So I've met everybody. Um, I just trying to think who was the oldest one. I think not Beljavsky, the guy with the Sicilian invented the line in the Sicilian.
Sveshnikov.
Sveshnikov. Yeah,
Yes.
I met him in Kanti Mansisk, and a very nice guy, very grumpy, but very nice guy. And as I said, at the Olympics, you meet everybody. So, and if you can, you have a chat with them. Most of the top players are very, very nice, very comfortable to talk to. They're very friendly, down to earth.
Yeah.
And they're just a bunch of nice guys. I mean, so.
Now, Gunther, we're going to come back to one or two games that you have observed at the Olympiad in a few minutes. But let's go back to South Africa for a moment. Gunther, what does it take? What qualities must a person have to be an arbiter? Is it patience? Is it creativity? What do you need? What qualities would you look for if you, as you are an international arbiter, you do online training? How would you identify who has a temperament to be an arbiter?
Okay, the very first thing I always look at is the person able to separate himself from being an arbiter and knowing the players that are playing. Like if I have to arbiter your game, you and Calvin are now playing a game, I have to distance myself completely because I need to be totally impartial. I know who you are, but I have to treat you as total foreigners. That is the first thing I always look in the arbiter. Can they be totally impartial, fair at all times? And then obviously, do they have the knowledge? Can they apply that knowledge in a split second? I mean, I know a lot of arbiters that know the laws, but they have to first refer to the book. If you're there in a situation at the board and you have to make a call, you have to call these things up just like that. So I always the main thing is, as I said with the anti-cheating, is the arbiter fair? Does he know his laws, and is he a fair? Can he judge everybody equally?
Yes, yes.
And then obviously experience. You need a lot of experience, like from the ground up. You cannot, expect to. I always, when I started, I never expected to, do the essay close for the very first time. I started the PHS club, right at the bottom, school tournaments, and gradually you work yourself up. You need that experience with like players as well. I mean, you can't, when you start playing, get a 2,500 rating. You start at 1,000, and then in the next tournament, you gradually build your rating. The same with arbiters. Gradually build up your experience, and then that is one of the main things that you need as well.
100%. No, thanks.
Situations, it's difficult.
No, thanks for that, Gunther. Gunther, one final question from my side, Calvin, before we go to one or two questions in the chat room. When you travel in Africa, do you generally, I've seen you at zonals and I've seen you at African individuals. Which has been your favorite tournaments that you've traveled to on a continent? Because I know that you've traveled to Zambia, to Nigeria, to all over, but which country or have you found exciting to be part of?
I've been asked this question so many times by the European arbiters. and exactly the same question. And I've told all of them. I actually had a informal meeting with them, and I said, I cannot explain it, but every time when I have to go to a tournament in Africa, I'm more excited than going to an Olympiad. I don't know why. I just find it. I always look so forward to doing a tournament somewhere on the continent. And
Yes.
to be honest with you, I cannot say there is one that stands out. I mean, I've got in my head that this one was maybe a little bit better, but I think all of them were excellent. I mean, I always enjoy all the tournaments in Africa where I go to.
No,
It's just, yeah, I don't know why. It's just one of those things. It's just I enjoy it thoroughly. I enjoy it.
No, we glad, Gunther, and it's a very positive answer because, like you, I've also enjoyed playing on the African continent, and I think Calvin will also testify. I mean, he's played all over from Malawi to other countries, Mozambique as well, and it's just nice to be with our African brothers and sisters as well. Gunther, a final question before we go over. What are your hobbies besides reading up on chess laws? What do you do when you're not at chess tournaments?
Okay. What I'm currently busy with, and I've been starting with it for the past years, I actually grow chilies, believe it or not.
Chilies.
Not this nonsense that you chilies, not this nonsense that you buy in the shops. I actually currently growing 14 of the top 15 hottest chilies in the world.
Yeah,
So
Calvin, I don't know if that means that if you have it, you're going to be a hot player. No, good. That's
I remember
interesting.
Calvin. Remember the no, I enjoy it. It's very relaxing, and I just find I play chilies, and then I do a bit of programming just on the side, just to keep myself busy, my mind active, because I believe your mind must always stay active. And that's basically it.
No,
And
thanks,
reading,
thanks,
a lot
Gunther.
of reading
And do you find that you've got to stay up to date with what FIDE has issued, because I mean you do online arbitering and online lecturing as well. So must you stay in shape like a chess player must stay in shape? You as an arbiter must also stay in shape.
obviously. It's like if you chess player, you become rusty. The arbiter, if you don't follow up on everything and keep an eye, because I always tell the arbiters at least once a week, go to the FIDE website or various other websites in other countries and see what news they've got there. There might not be something, but at least if you miss something, you can see there's a link. I visit the American Arbiters website. A lot of times I go to the English Chess Federation website, Scottish one, Australia, Russia. I mean, I can read a little bit of Russian now. I do their stuff and just as much as possible, because you pick up a lot of ideas. What I always say is we fall into a groove here in South Africa or any country. It's applicable to anybody. And you get so used to it, and then if you look at what other countries do, you get nice ideas.
Okay.
These guys are great. I mean, they've got a perfect thing there, and sometimes FIDE will come up with new laws, so you have to study the laws, download the new articles, update yourself, discuss it with other arbiters. We've got an arbiters group, AOC group, where we every now and again we post problems, questions, and then see how the arbiters react. And so you've got to keep active the whole time as much as possible. It's, as you say, it's the same as a player. You need to be tip-top shape with latest opening theories, etc. Same with arbiters.
Okay, no, so Calvin, it seems that I mean, just like the referees in rugby have to be able to run a certain distance, at the same time, our arbiters need to stay up to date with their opening theory, which is the laws of chess, obviously, and be able to discern that. Gunther, I'm just going to hand you over to Calvin. Thank you very much for the moment, but I'm not going away anyway. Calvin, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Lyndon. Interesting stuff, Gunther. I can tell you when you mentioned chilies, it did ring a bell. I've traveled with Gunther a couple of times, but
I remember Malawi, where I gave you and I think Ryan.
yeah.
I said, taste these nice berries.
Oh yeah. That's what it is. I couldn't really put my finger on it, but yeah, it rang a bell when you mentioned the chilies. So interesting stuff there.
2007.
Yeah, I think that was one of my first international trips, actually. Fun one, fun one.
Yeah.
So anyways, let's see, guys. There's not a lot of questions in the chat box. I would urge the viewers
Sure.
just throw in a chat, throw in some questions. I've got a couple of things here as well. From Istvan, of course, Istvan Dionji. Welcome to the show. He's a regular. He says greetings everyone, and then he says okay, he gives a bit of a memory from himself here. He says, I wonder how good Gunther's memory is, as he was witness to me, Istvan, desperately checkmating my opponent in a tournament many years ago, and I had 2 seconds on my clock when I managed it. Well, I can say, Gunther, probably you saw thousands of those type of scenarios. I don't know if you remember Istvan doing that one. He said that,
Yeah, as you say, I've seen hundreds of thousands of those type of games. So
yeah. And then just to go on, he said, left on my clock. He was watching my clock as he could see that I was in serious time trouble. Okay. Yeah, he can't remember the tournament, unfortunately. All right. And then King Ulster also in the chat says, good evening, gents, and world-renowned Gunther. Thanks, King Ulster. And King Ulster goes on to say something. He says, I think Gunther's first arbiter stint was the Friday evenings in Mtunzini. I don't know how true that is, Gunther, but that's what King Ulster mentioned over there. And then Istvan goes on to say, whoa, I can eat bird's eyes chilies, but that's it. That's his limit. So, Gunther, you mentioned something about 14 types of chilies. I'm assuming bird's eyes is one. I'm not a chili expert.
No, I've got the top 14, but bird's eye is like, according to me, non-existent.
Okay. Okay, and then I've got...
just...
Yeah? You were saying,
they're just decorations. You can use bird eyes just for decorations.
Oh, wow. Okay. So we've got two nice long statements here by Dr. Queenie and Monster Frick. Always welcome on the show. They're always giving us something to read here as well. Let's see what Dr. Queenie says. Dr. Queenie says, I must say that I always feel at ease when I see that Gunther is the arbiter at an event where I play, especially if it is an important one like the closed zonals or African champs. I know that he is fair and he knows his stuff. He is very observant at events. He is always a great person to travel with, knowledgeable about the countries and players. Sometimes he even places to shop. Good to have a chat with him during events. That's from Dr. Queenie. And thanks, Dr. Queenie. I just urge the viewers, please throw in some questions as well. Good to hear your thoughts, guys. Monster Frick says, hi, Gunther. Thank you for your time. I know that you are a busy man and chess gave you many sleepless nights in the past for the benefit to us as players. Interesting story you have about one of my interests too, and that is chilies. I also believe you have a soft spot for animals and specifically cats. What sort of stealth mode properties do you think you are sharing with cats? Chess and chilies. Interesting one there, Monster Frick.
Stealth mode. I think I stay up late. I go to bed about... When you wake up, I'll go to bed.
So that's maybe...
It's the quickest way.
Oh, and Monster Frick just says, I may mention his name. That is, of course, Jark Frick Gunther. So that's coming from Jark. That's that one. So yeah, thanks guys for the interesting chat in the chat box. Please feel free to throw in some questions also for Gunther. So yeah, anyways, that's it for now in the chat. Over to you, London. Thanks, Gunther.
Thanks, Calvin. Thanks, Gunther. So what we're going to do now, Gunther, for the moment is I'd like to have a look at the two games, Calvin, that Gunther has indicated that he's going to chat with us about. And then we will take one or two of those stories from the Olympiad and the others as well. So, Calvin, let's go to the lead chess board and then Gunther will take us through those two games and we can just chat about the positions and the players a bit.
Okay, well. So just a question, Gunther, do you want to start from the position where we're at, or do you want to start from the beginning, or where do you want to start?
Easy.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I cannot give you a lot of insight with the analysis, but if you want to jump to that positions, it's fine with me.
Okay, I just want to give a small intro here, London, to the game.
Remember, I'm not.
I actually checked out the game, and Gunther has selected some very interesting games here, guys. So let's switch over to the lead chess board. Let's switch over. And there we have it. And yeah, two interesting games. The first one that we have here, guys, is of course selected by Gunther, and it's played at the Olympiad. Ivanchuk versus Belyavsky. And Gunther has got some interesting story about this game. He watched this game himself in where was this? In Kantimansisk, 2010. Okay, you said this was your favorite one, Gunther, Olympiad
That's
wise.
correct.
So just to give you guys a small intro into what happened at the start of the game, Ivanchuk having the white pieces, he played some. Eventually, we got into this type of Panov opening, and he played Bishop G5. Black captured on C4, attacking D4, and Ivanchuk just decided to recapture on C4, offering up the pawn on D4, which is a bit of theory, not well known to myself, but Black captured on D4, accepted basically the challenge. They say that Queen takes pawn is a slightly more solid, but still risky. Ivanchuk casually continued development. Knight takes, Queen takes, and as you can see, White's got everybody out, and Black only has the Knight out. Black went Queen C7, taking the Bishop. Ivanchuk checked, Bishop D7, castle, and of course Black doesn't want to capture over here because of Knight takes, and then the initiative just grows. And Black played Bishop C6. Okay, Bishop takes Knight. Of course, the Bishop can't take the Queen because it's pinned. And after pawn takes F6, White gets one of his last pieces into the game. And after E6, yeah, Gunther, you can take over and maybe give us a bit of background what's happening.
Yeah, I remember this game was played at board 7 or match 7 of the Olympiad. Okay. And we were right at the back of the hall, and I was standing. This was the last game. The other games, I think, finished very quickly, like these 5-minute draws or something.
Yeah.
And at this stage, Ivanchuk was thinking, and I remember, he always twitches his eyebrow like this when he goes into deep thought. And I had a look at this, position, and I thought, according to me, the best move over here is Queen takes F6. And I tried to analyze it, and I'm not a grandmaster. I can't see like 20 moves in advance. So I also saw one of his, I saw Knight to D5, but I didn't think of it because I just thought, okay, if Tal was sitting here, he would have played Knight to D5.
Probably.
But I'm not Tal, so I will play Queen takes F6.
Looks very logical, Queen F6, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it just makes sense. And then, the game continued. And then right at the end, when Belyavsky actually, resigned, I asked Ivanchuk, I said, can we put the position back to this? And then I asked him, I said, why don't you play Queen to F6? I think it's quite a good move. And then he started rattling off, like 50, I'm not lying to you, 40, 50 moves in advance, explaining to me like 10 different lines, why not. And I had no idea what he was saying. I didn't understand a single thing, but I just kept my cool and said, yes, okay. And but the way that he was so passionate, and I will never forget. That is probably my most favorite game I've ever arbitered at the Olympiad.
Okay.
And Belyavsky obviously was not very happy. He was grumpy and he got up and he left. But I cannot forget this game. This is probably my most favorite game of all time at the Olympiads.
Okay, so interesting stuff.
Just for interest sake, we'll look at the position and the game just into completion now. But Ivanchuk obviously plays for the Ukraine, and Belyavsky plays for Slovenia. So that would have been sort of a 4 grandmasters versus 4 grandmasters game, and that is why those other games would have probably ended so quickly because, but of course, Ivanchuk playing an interesting line here. And so how did it end now? I mean, what did Ivanchuk play?
Well, so next up, of course, Gunther already kind of said what was on his mind or what was the Tal-like move, and Ivanchuk, not taking the pawn like we're thinking about, Ivanchuk went on and played Knight D5. Whoa.
Okay.
So So that looks amazing. Of course, the knight wants to jump in. He's attacking the queen. The bishop is still pinned. But of course, the
Yeah.
big question is, what if pawn takes knight? Okay, black long castled, but I think after pawn takes knight, there's some variation here. Queen takes. And okay, the rook is still hanging, and the big difference is the e file is open for
Yeah.
the f1, the rook, and things go south very quickly. I mean, the move that is suggested already is bishop g7. There's nothing
Sure.
else that's nice for black. If the king goes to d7, then the h8 is hanging. f7 is also a possibility. f5 as well. So bishop g7 takes, and long castle would be something black could try just to get out of trouble. But soon there would be more issues to solve there from black's point of view. So what happened after the game is knight d5 was played, long castle happened, and more craziness because you can take the queen, but the queen on f3 is also hanging. So bishop takes bishop, pawn takes d5, bishop takes d5. So white is looking good. He basically got his pawn back, but his pieces are nicely centralized. And black still needs to get into the game. So black goes king b8, getting the king off the file over there. Rook c1 anyway. Queen d7. And the rook d1 back. A bit curious. They say that this is the only mysterious move otherwise in a swift game. Because, I mean, maybe black can try to repeat, but maybe Ivan should get some other ideas. Some psychological games there. And bishop e7 played. g3 to create some space for the king and to close the g file a bit. Queen c7, rook c1 back, queen d7, and finally the more natural rook fd1 was played. Right. Rook c8, and here comes a special moment. Gunther, I don't know if you saw this physically that time, but this is quite nice what Ivanchuk did. I don't know if you want to also test it out there, London. What white to play, guys? Can someone take a guess what white did next?
Yeah, so there's quite a few. There's some undefended queen, and there's a bishop there as well. So all of a sudden, normally in combinations, you must look at the undefended piece. That's the sort of the idea, and then that black king doesn't look too comfortable there, Calvin.
Yeah, and just maybe to give the viewers a bit of time here, Gunther, we've got a question here in the chat for you. It's from Dr. Queenie. Thanks, Dr. Queenie. She says, Gunther, how did you feel the first time you were an arbiter in a game between two top super GMs? Did you feel a hint of insecurity, maybe slightly intimidated by the presence of the players? It can be quite a position to be in. Anything goes wrong between the players. Your thoughts, please. So that's from Dr.
No, not
Queenie.
at all. Yeah, no, not at all. It's what I usually do is before the game, you chat to the players maybe for 5-10 seconds.
Yeah.
Because they are also nervous. So no, I've never been intimidated by anything. That's one thing an arbiter must keep in mind as well. The moment you intimidate, the players will pick it up, and then they know, oh, this guy's a walkover. So no, I've never felt scared or anything.
Okay, interesting. That's right. I think that's a quite important quality, Gunther. Thanks for that. And Istvan in the chat box is suggesting bishop to e6. Bishop e6. What's happening here? Okay, the queen is being attacked. Can I maybe not just play queen takes e6? I'm not sure about this one, Istvan.
Because you don't gain anything. Queen f4 check. There's nothing happening further, maybe.
Yeah, rook e1, maybe we can just dodge. And the worst is we can maybe just lose our bishop back that we are up anyway. So maybe not the most vicious move. Fundi says bishop c6. No problem, Istvan. Nice try. Fundi says bishop c6. What's happening with bishop c6, guys? It's hitting the queen again. What can black do with this one? Interesting move, Fundi.
Okay. Sure.
Can we go rook takes c6? No. The rook is still protected on d1, so I guess that's just a blunder of queen. Maybe queen e6. No, not queen e6. Very interesting move, actually. Because we're trying to get to b7, right? Any idea?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm struggling to defend for black. Bishop c6 looks nice, Fundi.
Interesting idea there. Probably queen c7 is probably forced, Calvin.
Queen c7, and maybe if takes, then you can maybe take over here or what? I'm not sure if it's possible. Takes over there. Threatening mate and protecting. I like bishop c6. Looks interesting. I don't know if I'm missing something here, guys.
Yeah.
But let's see. Good evening, Boom Shaka in the chat. Welcome, welcome. Um, let's just take it one move back here. Yeah, bishop c6 looks quite cool. I agree with Fundi. That looks quite nice. So well done, well spotted, Fundi. In the game, something different happened. Ivanchuk played something slightly different, but also brilliant. He played bishop takes b7. So I mean, this game has. I mean, Ivanchuk is just playing brilliantly. It seemed like black got out of trouble, but just as soon as you think you settled in, and then bishop takes b7 happens. Bishop c6 also possible. So yeah, Bearded Zaid also says bishop c6 looks good. So what happened after bishop b7 takes, and after black, of course, accepted the bishop, then a check happened on f4. Only move is king a8, and simply rook c7, and the resignation was made there. Beautiful, because that's happening. The king is exposed as well, and there's no way out here. So yeah, brilliant game there, Gunther. That you, I mean, I would have loved to see this one live, even to get a chance to just talk to Ivanchuk afterwards about this. It's amazing. So thanks for that one.
So just another interesting statistic, Calvin, is that Beliavsky is the only player in the Olympiad history to have played for 4 countries.
Ooh,
so
okay.
I'm going to ask the viewers to perhaps type into the chat room which are the 4 countries that Beliavsky has played for at the Olympiads. That's a trick question for tonight. Gunther, I suspect you know the answer, so you can't answer.
Yeah, I don't know that one though.
Yeah, I know, so I will keep quiet.
Let's look at the second game, Calvin, and then we'll get back to Beliavsky's answer.
Okay, let's go on to the next game. So what's the next one we're looking at, Gunther?
That is Magnus Carlsen. It's in 2016.
Yeah.
Or 2018. When was the Baku Olympiad?
2016. Yeah,
2016.
That was my first Olympiad. I also watched Magnus there for a couple of moments. So yeah, nice tournament.
Yeah, it was Norway versus Peru, and at this, this is the position. That is actually, if you just think, bishop. Yeah, Carlsen now played, I think, if I remember correctly, bishop takes g6.
Yes, bishop takes position. G6, yeah.
And then the other guy started thinking, but you need to have been there to see it, because Carlsen was actually very, remember, his mind wasn't, I think, completely at the game, because he was supposed to play the World Championship match.
Okay.
A month later or something like that.
Okay.
And his opponent was sitting like 2 rows away from him. And they were constantly, I think, looking at each other's games. And he was a little bit, I remember, a bit tricky. And I thought Emilio, a black over here, could have played, while my analysis was pawn takes bishop.
Okay.
H takes g6. And remember, I'm not a grandmaster. With the idea of, the rook going to the h file, the king to g6, pile up everything on the h file, and you've got pressure. I don't know if it's going to work, but that's what I saw.
Yes.
And
looks interesting.
That's not what the guy. Yeah, that's not what the guy played. He actually played queen takes g6.
Yeah.
And then I think he was lost from there, because now Carlsen relaxed. I mean, if you looked at his demeanor, I'll never forget it. He went back into his chair, and you could see he was now relaxed. Oh, I've won the game. It's not just a technique that I must just finish, use to finish the game. And afterwards, I asked the Peruvian, why didn't you play, pawn takes g6, and he wasn't very happy, and I'll just leave it at that. But he wasn't a very happy chappy. So, but this is also one of the games that, for some reason, I cannot forget. I just remember the whole game back to front.
Yeah, I must say, I also checked out Carlson at this tournament. There were two games that I can remember. This is one of them, actually. Very cool game. The other game, I think it was him playing this guy. I think it's Guy M, someone like this, where Magnus played a London system. And it started off quiet, but then there's this fireworks in the middle game, and the game didn't last long. But just to show the viewers how this position came about, if you go a couple of moves back, then Magnus played quite creative here with King H8, and notice we have opposite color bishops. And this, it's like a Benoni structure, but white hasn't got in E4 here. So he finally played E4. And after E4, of course, black doesn't want to capture and then unleash this bishop. So black played G5. His opponent was playing quite creative himself as well. And after pawn takes G5, black went F4. And now black wants to take over the dark square. So something like G takes F, rook takes F, and then the knight or the bishop goes and sits on E5. Typical pawn sack there. But Magnus plays bishop F5, takes on G3, and he goes knight H3. Takes on H2, and king H1. So that F pawn went all the way to H2, and it's all about this, holding the position, the G5 pawn, and the light squares basically coming through eventually over there. So as we can see, the follow-up after the knight got onto G6, Magnus took. Here's where Gunther thought maybe pawn takes, queen takes was played. After knight F4 in the exchanges, this is just difficult for black. This is very difficult for black. After a bit of shuffling, queen E6, there's a monster pin, and after doubling up, Magnus intensifies the pin over there. Okay, the computer might be a bit, shall I say, but too harsh with a notation over there. C4 and G6 is a nice move. G6 is quite nice because it cuts out the queen from F7.
Yeah.
And black played check, and after rook F1 resigned. So what would have happened after queen takes G6?
Rook to G2.
Rook G2, and it's over. So yeah, it's like you said, Gunther. Since queen takes G6, it just seemed like routine. It seemed just too easy for Magnus.
Yeah, as I said, my depth, it's not that of grandmaster level, but myself and two of the arbiters, we were actually humming around this game, and we were doing something we're not supposed to do. We were analyzing the position.
Yeah.
And because we found it so interesting, and we actually came to sort of this position, this position after the guy played queen takes G6.
Yes.
And we came to the conclusion, okay, we didn't see everything that Carlson played, but basically we got to the same final position idea.
Okay.
And that's why I told them afterwards, if the guy played the pawn, if he played pawn takes G6, the king could have maybe jumped to G7, and then he now puts pressure on the H file, and he's also got the F file that he can maybe somehow stop all activity. And I just felt, I just thought it might have been a little bit better.
Yeah,
but again,
you're creating another flight square, basically.
Yeah. But again, that's, as I say, it's me analyzing. It's not Carlson analyzing. So
no, agreed. Well, Calvin, no, thanks for that. Good. Just to tell you, King also has got it right, but it's not 4 countries, it's actually 3 countries. I counted an extra one. So Belyavsky played for Russia. He played for the Soviet Union firstly, and this is where it comes in. So he played for the Soviet Union, and then after 92, he played for the Ukraine, and then from 1996, he played for Slovenia. So very interesting, and of course, some folks may recall that Daniel Barish drew with Belyavsky last year in 2020 in a tournament in Spain as well. So no, Gunther, two great games on that side. Gunther, I've got 2 or 3 more questions. Yes.
Sorry, I just want to say, Beljavski, I think, came to prominence in after the USSR versus the rest of the world match, the very first one. I think he was still young. He and Korchnoi, Tal, Kasparov, Karpov, Spassky, and I think Botvinnik was also in the team, and Smyslov. You know, all the world champions.
Yeah,
he was the only non-world champion there, basically.
Oof.
And I think that's where he made his name.
Yeah, no, he's a fantastic player. So Gunther, going forward now, you've started also to lecture online arbitering and that. How does that work? Perhaps you can tell the audience.
Well, it's the same for. I haven't done a chess essay one yet, but I've done a FIDE. So it's just what we do here is like you log into Zoom. You actually, as well, everybody is logged onto Zoom. You discuss the laws. You explain to them what all the different, the everything about the laws, what they should know. You've got sessions where they can discuss, give you situations that happens in games. How would you solve them? And then that goes on for about a couple of days, like 2-3 hours every day. And at the end, they write an exam, an online exam. And that exams are then sent to FIDE to be moderated. And a week or two later, they will get their results.
Okay. So
but it's
is it open to anybody? Is it per country or per continent? How does it work? Can anyone register?
Absolutely open to anybody. So what will happen is, let's just say next week we will have a seminar. Then it will be advertised on the FIDE website because they need to approve it first. And then whoever, it's a first come, first serve. Doesn't matter what country you are, but they usually tell you, okay, this course will take place on South African time. So if you in the US somewhere or in Japan, you have to adjust your times accordingly. But it's completely open to anybody.
Okay, so that's an interesting. And as these seminars taken off now during the COVID times.
Oh, like crazy! It's like the same with the chess. As the chess started booming, I mean, the seminars just started booming. I mean, they are hosted all over the world. I mean, it's basically every week there's a seminar or two somewhere in the world.
My goodness,
Gunther, it's very, very popular.
Gunther, do you miss over the board chess?
Obviously. Over the board chess, it's just that I think that interpersonal relationship that you've got with other people, that human interaction, if I can put it that way, that's I think that everybody misses. It's I can't remember the guy's name, but it was some Dutch psychologist many years ago that used to do studies on human behavior. And he says one of the, and I can actually see it now, one of the fundamental properties of a human being is you need contact with other human beings, not just over Zoom like this, but you need physical contact. You need to meet them in person. And that part I actually miss from tournaments, being there with the people, seeing the people, having a chat, face-on-face chat. And I think everybody misses that in some way.
Yeah. No, of course. I mean, that is, we're hoping to get some tournaments going, and some tournaments have started already. Has there been over the board tournaments in your neck of the woods?
Not as far as I know. There might have been, because I haven't been involved that much since the lockdown started. With over the board events, but I've done countless online events.
No,
but I know all over the country there are, they're starting now, popping up again.
Yeah. No. Gunther, I ask every guest the next question. Are there any 3 chess books that made an impression on you? Besides the laws of chess, any other book?
Yes, the very first one that that my dad gave to me, it was like a compendium. It was just called Chess, and it was by two authors. The first was I. Horowitz, was the one author, and I cannot remember the other guy's name. But it was in the old notation. They had a lot of puzzles in it, and that was my one main book. The other one is the Life and Times of Michael Tal.
Okay.
Nice thick book about his games, his life, what he did. And then the third one was obviously everybody. Well, it's actually two. I cannot separate them. There's Emmanuel Lasker's the chess practice.
Yeah.
And Aaron Nimzovich's My System. So I've actually got 4 books. But I still got the otherwise.
No, thanks, Gunther, for that, because I think I mentioned to Calvin that we'll probably be able to, in our downtime, be able to look at all the streams and come up with that list of books, Calvin, that all our guests have actually recommended, because it's interesting. There's some books that there's well known, like the My Systems of the World, and then there's 1 or 2 Fred Reinfeldt, and now you've mentioned Horowitz that also comes into play, and of course that book of Tal was, I think, published for the first time in '75, and then Batsford did a reprint of it later, and I've got the Batsford reprint version as well. So a great book as well. Gunther, from my side, thank you very much for participating tonight. Calvin, I don't know if there are any questions in the chat room that will end our session tonight, but I've enjoyed just reminiscing with Gunther. As Dr. Queenie said, we've traveled with Gunther to a number of tournaments and events all over the world. And of course, Gunther has been a part of the South African chess landscape probably for the better part of 20 years now, Gunther, right?
Yeah, it's been a very long time. I actually stopped counting since when.
Yeah,
no, I remember the very first arbiter. Yeah, the very first arbiter I started working with was old Sandy Matthews.
Yes, of course. We know Sandy.
That was in the 80s, I think, the late 80s.
Yeah, I can well believe it. Gunther, any final comments that you'd like to leave with the viewers? How should they prepare for over the board chess going forward? Because when you play online, you can take moves back, or not moves back, but you can touch a piece and not move it.
Yeah, that is one of the. I've got many things. I like online chess, but there's a lot of things about it that I also don't like a touch and move thing. You can hover in a piece. I did it today. Earlier today, I was just before we started. I played a couple of blitz games, and then the one I actually picked up a rook. And as my opponent moved, my rook was here somewhere on the screen, and I realized wherever I'm going to play this rook, it's going to be a blunder. So I could put it back and move something else. And that's one thing I don't like about online chess. It's like there's no touch and move.
Yeah.
You can't nail the guy and say, you touched it, you must move it.
No, we got that one. But good. Thank you very much. Calvin, any closing comment from yourself?
Okay, so yeah, no, I've got one question here in the chat, Gunther. Maybe just a question that is on a lot of players' minds. Maybe from my side as well, I could join in that question. Just seeing that you've mentioned like the tournaments coming back slightly over the board. I know it's difficult to assess with this pandemic that we have on our hands here, but do you perhaps foresee, and this is from Kasi Chess, do you perhaps foresee an event like the SA Closed perhaps happening this year? What's your thoughts on this? Is it possible for us to still have something like that? I know FIDE is kind of planning another Olympiad and some over the board tournaments happening. Do you think it's possible for us to have something like that this year?
To be brutally honest, no. I can tell you now what's going to happen all over the world. This is a completely shift, the whole worldwide. This over the board tournaments that's happening is just, this sounds very crude now, but people just trying to go back to normal. The new thing is unfortunately it's going to be what they call hybrid. as we actually play from certain points. They call it hubs, and you play over the internet against whatever. So we suspect not this coming World Championship, but maybe the future World Championships will be like that. You sit in Cape Town and you play against magnets that's in Oslo somewhere, and that's how you will be playing the World Championship. So my feeling is there's not going to be a lot of over-the-board tournaments soon.
Okay.
Top
All right,
level events.
Thanks.
Top level events, yeah.
Thanks, Gunther. Thanks for your thoughts. And then just a couple of statements here. Isvan says, thank you, Gunther and everyone. Monster Frick says, thank you, Gunther, for everything you do for chess. You are one of the most important figures in chess who not many know. No one can replace you, so please stay alive. That's from Jark over there. Thanks, Jark. And yeah, just from my side, Gunther, of course, an icon. Just thinking of Gunther and arbiters, I don't see. When I think arbiters, I see Gunther's face, so I'm not sure what will happen if Gunther one day decides to retire, guys. But from my side, thanks, Gunther, for taking your time to chat with us this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure. For I think our reflection show is a bit more complete with you on as well. So thanks so much. It's been entertaining games and also entertaining having you on the show. So thanks a lot, Gunther.
Thank you very much for having me.
Fantastic. And now I just want to ask London, what's happening in the future? Are we going to have another episode next week? What's on the cards for Reflection Season 2?
Yes, Calvin. We're still going to have probably about 3 more episodes before the season closes.
Okay.
Next week is, of course, Freedom Day, and we'll most probably start a bit earlier than 7 o'clock since people are on vacation. And I'm just waiting to hear from somebody, one of our chess friends in Africa, who's on a different time zone than us. And once he confirms, then we'll probably start at 5 p.m. or 4 p.m. To accommodate his time zone. So next week we'll go onto the African continent, and just so people on Sunday we will send out the notice as well. So thanks, Calvin, for that, and thank you, viewers. Gunther, have a good evening, and we'll chat with you very soon again. Enjoy the evening.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
And I just want to say thanks to our new subscriber, Isvan. Just subscribe. Thank you so much for the support. And yeah, have a lovely evening further, everyone. Thanks so much, Gunther. Thanks, Lyndon. Enjoy the rest of your evening, guys. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.